everyone. Welcome back to Underreported Stories, where I cover the news that CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News fail to report on or don't report on enough. This is a show based in logic, facts, and truth. And today, before I even get into the stories, I have a major announcement. Today is the official launch of my merch line, Based Apparel. As you can tell, it's pretty timeless, and it is apparel highlighting the beliefs of a free thinker. Based is the opposite of woke, okay? So at Based, like I said, we believe in logic, fact, and truth. Those are the same core values that created Underreported Stories. So if you'd like to support these values and my mission, the show, get your Based apparel in the link below. Go to basedinlogicapparel.com to get your hat. This is so cute and such a labor of love, so thank you so much. Into the stories for today. An Alabama Democrat running for office was charged with 7 felony counts of voter fraud. Kamala Harris's most likely VP pick, Josh Shapiro, is being forced to defend himself after his decades-old college essay resurfaced, and an airline pilot was arrested. Without further ado, let's get into the 5 underreported stories that you need to know. The voter fraud is starting early this year. An Alabama Democrat running for a seat in the state's 5th congressional district was charged with 7 felony counts of voter fraud. Terry Andrew Heflin allegedly voted 7 times by falsifying an absentee ballot application and verification documents. The crazy part of this story is that that man, who is likely going to jail for voter fraud, won his primary election. In a great write-up from Brianna Lyman over at the Federalist, like I said, an Alabama Democrat is now under indictment for 7 felony counts of voter fraud. The indictment reads that this individual, 45-year-old Terry Andrew Heflin, did willfully vote for another voter or falsify an absentee ballot application or verification document so as to vote absentee and or willfully aided any person unlawfully to vote an absentee ballot to wit. Lots of legal speak, but basically he was falsifying ballots, on behalf of 3 Alabamans. So he had taken 3 people's names and had voted 6 additional times. The Attorney General's Special Prosecution Division is prosecuting this case right now. Now, like I noted, this is crazy. This guy won the Democratic primary in April after receiving 141 votes compared to another Democrat primary individual, Beverly Appleby Hills, 98 votes. That is such a low stakes election. But anyway, he did turn himself into the sheriff's office and is currently being held in jail, according to the Attorney General. And it's such a wild thing that's going on, but it is really good to see that in Alabama, they are taking voter fraud incredibly seriously. Brianna does note at the bottom of this article that leftist media, corporate media, whatever you want to call it, people have spent the last 4+ years smearing people who have questioned the security of mail-in voting, I should say. And ABC News, like Brianna says, ABC News accused President Donald Trump of escalating his attacks on vote by mail, calling him out for, quote, seeking to discredit the integrity of the option or the election. So there are lots of organizations saying that mail ballot fraud is rare and blah, 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 blah. But we see example after example like this. So I don't know about you guys, but my first question was, can this guy still run on the ticket? Went and looked it up for you. Since these are just accusations, he's technically innocent until proven guilty. So from my understanding and research, unless he takes himself off the ballot willingly, this is the Democrats' nominee. Yikes. Speaking of yikes, we've got to talk about what happened at the Olympics yesterday. A Taiwanese boxer who was born with XY chromosomes was allowed to compete in the women's category of Olympic boxing. Lin Yuting beat biological female Svetlana Stevina, and following what many believe was a very unfair loss, Stevina held up an X with her fingers, which lots of people believe signifies the need to have only XX chromosomes in the ring. The New York Post had a great write-up, obviously. I mean, they're one of my favorite news outlets, if you haven't figured that out by now. But in case you missed this, we talked about this on last week's show. Taiwan's Lin Yuting is among one of 2 biologically male boxers who are competing in the Olympics. Again, apologies for having to be careful with my language here, but the most notable person is Imam Khalif of Algeria, and then we have Lin Yuting of Taiwan. These are both people that were born with XY chromosomes who are now competing in the women's category. So Lin Yu-ting beat Bulgaria's Svetlana Stevina in the quarterfinal match of the women's 57 kilogram category on Sunday morning, ensuring that Yu-ting will win at least a bronze medal. New York Post does use she, her pronouns to talk about Yu-ting, just as a heads up. So the article says that Stevina, which is the girl from Bulgaria, said she wasn't going to leave the ring without having her say. So if you're in the listening audience, you can't see this, but this individual held up an X gesture with her fingers. So both her pointer fingers were in an X movement as she was walking out. Many people do believe that the X symbol was referring to female chromosomes, as she was beaten by someone who does not have those same chromosomes. Says both Yu-ting and Khalif have been at the center of a gender identity clash after many have brought to light their disqualification so they were disqualified from a 2023 World Championship for boxing because they failed the gender eligibility test. And so they were banned by the International Boxing Association, yet they were allowed by the IOC. And you'll see the IOC has made so many references to this. A lot of people will say it's honestly misogynistic that the Algerian boxer was born female, was registered female, lived as female her whole life, boxed as a female, and has a female passport. This is not a transgender case. I know you're not saying that, but there's been some confusion that somehow it's a man fighting a woman. This is just not the case scientifically. I don't understand how this is like confusion. If I am propagating something that is completely a lie, I will come back and retract every video. But from everything I understand, this person was born with XY chromosomes, which makes you a man. But everybody at the IOC has gone forward and said that these two individuals are women, and that any sort of hatred or pushback to the idea that these individuals should be competing in the Olympics or shouldn't be competing in the Olympics is, quote, totally unacceptable. I personally find it unacceptable and quite frankly abhorrent for men to beat up women, but that is now considered the progressive cool thing to do. So it's weird, this world we're living in. Also, does anyone else feel like we're living in the most controversial Olympics of all time? Well, I know. I will admit, 2021 was a weird year. There were geopolitical tensions. The event was in China, right? But for whatever reason, this one feels even more controversial. We had the opening ceremonies, obviously this whole trans debate. And then the U.S. women's gymnastics team. They're like the pinnacle of all pinnacles for U.S. Olympic sports. They're absolute champions. They dominate their sport. And yet, for some reason, they're just mired in controversy that they've created themselves. They're constantly commenting about their haters, and I feel like they're unable to enjoy their moment in the spotlight. And I guess maybe it's just indicative of the world right now. It's weird and it's controversial. But if you prefer your commentary to be normal and controversial, well, you're in the right spot. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this video to boost underreported stories in the algorithm. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, please leave a 5-star review about how beautiful, stunning, and funny I am. Okay. Thank you, friends. Moving on to our next story. Soon-to-be Democratic vice presidential pick Josh Shapiro is going on the defense after his decades-old college essay about Israeli land disputes has resurfaced. Long essay short, he said that Palestinians will not peacefully coexist with Israelis, but Israelis will peacefully coexist with Palestinians. So in a write-up for the New York Post, it reads that Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro has had to defend his stance on Israel after writing an op-ed that he penned more than 3 decades ago, in which he wrote of being an Israeli army volunteer and disparaged the Palestinian people. The Philadelphia Inquirer uncovered the essay that Shapiro wrote for what was called the Campus Times. It's the student newspaper at the University of Rochester, which is where Shapiro graduated in 1995. The article specifically said that, quote, Palestinians will not peacefully coexist because they do not have the capabilities to establish their own homelands and make it successful, even with the aid of Israel and the United States. Mind you, this was written in 1995, and the Gaza Strip, which is run entirely by Palestine, was given over to Palestine in 2006. And I don't know about you guys if you've seen any pictures on the inside of it, but Shapiro's statements here show that he's not entirely wrong. He also said they are too battle-minded to be able to establish a peaceful homeland on their own. He was a volunteer in the Israeli army, and he referred to the Arab world as divided and belligerent. But As the article notes, Shapiro's support for Israel has been controversial inside of the Democratic Party due to the strong pro-Palestine support of the party's far left flank. And I'm no Josh Shapiro fan myself, okay? I have a whole video coming out on how Josh Shapiro supports transing minors in this insanely dictatorial manner. But he's not entirely wrong in this worldview. I know he wrote this article back in 1995, but there is a video from 2024 comparing Israeli and Palestinian worldviews on a two-state solution, courtesy of this guy, Zach Sage, who does very interesting journalism, and we're going to watch it together.
I just got back from Palestine, where I asked Palestinians questions about the conflict. Now I'm going to ask Israelis the exact same question to compare and contrast. Let's hear from both sides now. Do you guys believe that there can be peace between the Palestinians and the Israelis?
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you want to live with the Israelis in peace?
No.
We should delete Israel.
Do you think that a two-state solution could work?
If they wanted peace, it could work.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So you would not be okay with a two-state solution?
Of course not. I want one-state solution. No Israel.
So no more Israel?
Yes.
Israel wiped off the map?
Palestine فقط.
Yeah. See, I'm not denying it's not politically inconvenient for a Democrat to be pro-Israel, but I'm also not saying his original views are wrong. And let's say that Shapiro is now magically anti-Israel and he fits in with his party more. That's because these views were written before I was even born, okay? He graduated before I was born. So I'm sure he's changed his mind in that 27 plus year time period. But I just figured this was interesting insight and fodder nonetheless. Next up, you will not believe how much a Denny's platter costs in 2024. If you want the lumberjack slam, which is 2 pancakes, a slice of grilled ham, bacon strips, sausage links, eggs, hash browns, toast, all of that, used to be $5.99. It's $17.99 now. That is a 200% jump, far outpacing inflation. I don't understand how breakfast can cost so much now. Like, this is absurd. But a recent post on the inflation subreddit showed a picture of a Denny's menu featuring, like I said, the lumberjack slam for $17.99. This used to be $5.99. That's an insane jump. The article says the hefty price tag does not include the premium option of upgrading the pancakes to like banana or cinnamon roll or choco nana. That's an extra $3.09, which would, if you wanted to upgrade your pancake and get this lumberjack slam, it's going to be pre-tax and pre-tip a total of $21 at Denny's, okay, which is like not even real food. Denny's, this is one commenter said this, Denny's, where you can order an $18 plate for one person instead of making it home for 4 people at the same price. Exactly. And, obviously we can't compare this to the time of like the 90s, but it used to be $1.99 at one point. And now it's just absurd. Someone else said, we have to have old people come in all the time for 2 coffees and 2 Grand Slams and would leave with under a $10 bill. That's what it used to be like. And now it's crazy. Somebody said that 3 meals and 2 coffees plus a 20% tip at Denny's now comes out to $78. Now, a lot of these price increases are coming from California specifically because of the state's new $20 an hour minimum wage law, which was intended to help the low income, which is crazy because this is making it less affordable for those who are low income, because to pay wages of $20 an hour, you must jack up the prices on the people who are purchasing the food, which is traditionally low income individuals. Congrats on forking over your own people, California. Ooh, look at that. That was me trying not to cuss and being food punny at the same time. And for our final story, a pilot was arrested right after he was supposed to take off. Pilot Seymour Walker was about to fly from Houston to Dallas when an arrest warrant was issued for him, accusing him of assault involving family violence. Imagine boarding your flight to that drama. Daily Caller with a good write-up on this says Frontier airline pilot arrested aboard the aircraft prior to departure. Really crazy. So an arrest warrant was again issued for this 45-year-old pilot. The incident reportedly took place around 4 p.m. as passengers were boarding the aircraft. So imagine getting on the aircraft and then you just see your passenger or your pilot being arrested. It says Texas law enforcement officials boarded an aircraft at a specific gate after all passengers deplaned and took Walker into custody without incident, according to the outlet. The activity occurred prior to the start of Flight $31.95 scheduled from Houston to Dallas. There was no replacement crew, and so the flight was canceled. Oh my gosh. After weeks of canceled and delayed flights, and then we had like the whole crowd strike dilemma, I just didn't think we could get any more airline drama, but here we are. Anyway, if you're a real one and made it to the end of the show, thank you. And will you drop the baseball hat emoji like my new merch? You know, we're here to promo, okay? And I do know, I want to say, I know that in crazy times like now, it really matters where and how you spend your money. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to those who support this show and mission by purchasing a based hat. Thank you so much. As a heads up, the official show will be off Tuesday and Wednesday this week. I'm going to head over to California to go on the Whatever podcast, but I have videos teed up for my time away, so you won't be missing me, but I won't see you back here officially till Thursday. But you'll see me back on the channel tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Bye, friends.